Lebanon Hills Regional Park is the largest, oldest, and most visited park in the Dakota County Park System. Containing almost 2,000 acres, the park offers miles of trails and many lakes for year-round recreation and environmental education. Dakota County Parks is currently restoring about 350 acres of prairie and forest within Lebanon Hills. This land was once covered by a variety of prairie, savanna, woodland, and forest areas. This rich, diverse landscape was home to thousands of plant and animal species. Over the last century and a half, however, ecological conditions have been significantly altered and degraded.
Settlers first came to this area, they saw pretty much a pristine and intact plant community and animal community with lots of biodiversity, hundreds of species, high quality, lots of opportunity for food. And now today it's way different. Probably about a third of the park was used for agriculture in the last 150 years, which very much changes the plant community. It disrupts it. A lot of the areas were plowed for farming, or they were grazed for pasture, maybe probably overgrazed. Some of the wetlands were altered. In addition to that, a lot of new species have been introduced that were never here before, and some of them have become very invasive, and they don't have any checks and balances to keep their population from getting really large. We really should be restoring our land and trying to get it back to a higher quality. So you look at everything comprehensively and decide, where are the areas that are the highest quality, and usually you protect those first. And then other areas that may be important for habitat, maybe you want to restore those depending on where they are. If they're located near a high quality area or in a key area for certain species, maybe they would use that sort of habitat. Now these are parks, so they're also used by people. There's horse trails, there are hiking trails, there are ski trails. People canoe in the summer, and so there's a lot of human use that happens here too, which we have to balance between that and the animals and plants. It improves the aesthetic quality of the park for the park visitor too. Because before, where you'd come in here and you'd see like a wall of buckthorn on both sides when you walk down a trail, now we've opened it up more, and your sight lines are farther. You're able to see maybe across the way and see the hillside. Hopefully there'll be more species that will emerge from the ground layer as the sun hits the ground, and so you'll get more plants and flowering plants. It'll increase the beauty of the area. So what we have here is most of the plant communities that are in Lebanon Hills, that are in the uplands, are what we call fire dependent, because fire would move through here at a frequency of anywhere from 2 to 10 years. There are ways that plants and animals have adapted to those conditions over thousands of years. One of the short-term goals is to try to reintroduce fire back into the equation, because for the last 150 years it's been more or less suppressed. What we want to do is try to restore the conditions that best suit the soils, the geology, the topography of the site, so that A, it's more sustainable, it takes less work on our part to manage it, and also hopefully a lot of the seeds in the seed bank will come back if they get light, and so the biodiversity will increase and get more, far more than what we have today.
Kind of a theme that ties all of that together is we're really doing a lot of savanna restoration. Savanna is a transition between prairie and woodland, and because of that it really can support a wide variety of both plant and animal species that would survive either in prairie or woodland. So just last year the rusty patch bumblebee became, I think it was the first insect to become federally listed, and this area, most of Lebanon Hills, is actually suitable habitat for this rusty patch bumblebee. And so by us doing a lot of this savanna and woodland restoration, we're really creating better habitat year-round. So we already have some great prairie resources where throughout the summer and even into the fall. We've got lots of flowers available for them to feed on, but it's that woodland flower resource early in the spring that is hard for them to find, and so it's a really important plant community to bring back to the park, and it's one that historically would have been throughout this area.
When we're changing that situation back, we're removing a lot of woody vegetation, both exotic and native, and that's going to be a big change on the landscape.
So we have a lot of different tools in our toolbox. One that people are starting to get more familiar with is prescribed fire. It really helps to knock back invasive species, and it also helps to return nutrients to the ground and help the native plants to really thrive. Typically, prescribed burns happen in spring and fall. That's when we usually have the best windows to do that. Another tool that we've been using a lot is called forestry mowing. So this is one that people are going to start seeing a lot more of throughout the park, and forestry mowing it's a big piece of equipment that our contractors will bring in, and basically they use it to target some smaller diameter invasive trees to remove. So a lot of what we're doing is converting some more closed canopy woodlands into the more open savanna, and so this forestry mowing just kind of clears out the smaller material. We use it in the winter time because it's a heavy piece of equipment, and by using it in the winter when the ground is frozen, we avoid soil compaction, so we're not disturbing the ground. And then the forestry mower really shreds up the material. So that does two things. We don't have to then haul the material off site, so it saves a little bit of time and resources that way, because the material will decompose where it lays. And then also it really shreds up the stump of the tree, so that in most cases means that that tree or shrub isn't going to resprout, which then again limits the amount of herbicide that we have to use when we come back to control anything that does resprout.
In the beginning, things look a little rough. You know, you cut out all this brush and you chop it up, you make brush piles, you burn them. There's a lot of woody debris on the ground. It just kind of looks kind of messy. And so it's not going to look great right away. The flowers aren't going to come back right away. And if they don't, then we need to supplementally seed some areas, which takes time for that to get established and to get the fire regime back to what it was. So it's just going to take time.
You're going to see a lot of changes throughout the park. I know that sometimes it looks messier, and it's just kind of like cleaning your house. It looks worse before it gets better. So with that forestry mowing technique, in the first season afterwards, you will see it kind of looks like mulch throughout the woods. Within just a couple of years, that's really going to decompose, and we're going to start seeing native vegetation coming back up.
In the beginning stages of restoration, that's when most of the work occurs of removing a lot of these woody plants that have filled in over the years because of lack of fire and grazing.
So bear with us through that kind of messy phase, and know that we are going to be, in the long run, you're going to see a much more diverse plant community. There's going to be, it's just going to be healthier in general. You'll be able to really kind of see through the woodlands and enjoy the beautiful wetlands and lakes throughout the park. On this side of the trail, you can see an area that we've begun the restoration process. So over this past winter, we were able to have a contractor come in with a forestry mower and remove a lot of the brushy understory and really open up the canopy so that we're getting more sunlight to the forest floor. This is a great example of what it looks like at the beginning. You're going to start to see it greening up and becoming more diverse over the next few years. And then if you look over here on the other side of the trail, you'll see more of kind of a before picture. This side of the trail has not yet been restored. As you can see, more buckthorn has moved in, and there's some smaller buckthorn that has grown up since then. So this area will be restored at a later date, but it's a really good example of kind of a before and after. This park is really a fantastic resource, and we're excited to be improving the quality of it.